Hello, this is our week 6 video discussion. I'm going to start with the questions that are put out in the weekly announcements. So the first one was, have I witnessed an empowering rehearsal before? I think yes. Working with kids, it's fun and exciting and empowering for myself to see the ones that are encouraging each other and working together and supporting each other. And sometimes you get the right group at the right time, and all of that joy and empowerment and determination comes together and puts on a great production. So that rehearsal, that infectious wanting to be better, rubs off on everyone involved, and then magic can happen. And it's not just the actors on stage, the kids on stage, it involves the tech, the backstage crew, everyone. Everyone has to be fully committed for that to happen. And when it does happen in a rehearsal, when you see it all come together and the kids look at each other like, wow, we just did that, I think that's pretty exciting. That's one of the main reasons why I do this. The next question is, can a director be too collaborative? I say absolutely yes. Goes back to that too many chefs in the kitchen type of thing. I think it's important for a director to find the people that they trust most to work with. Sometimes easier said than done. I'm lucky enough to work with someone that I've worked with a long time. My kind of set designer, builder, and everything. So that collaboration works really well. But yes, I believe that a director can be too collaborative. Too many different ideas from different people. There needs to be one central hub, the director, that that kind of puts that all into focus. And if there's too many people in charge, then that focus, that vision is going to be muddied, and it's going to be not going to be what everyone wants in the end. So now going into our chapters this week. Chapter 19 was on rhythm and tempo and pace. I think I say this all the time, some of the most important parts of acting and theater and seeing a good production. I focus a lot with my kids on cue pickup and cue overlap and keep the scene moving, but and then being able to take our moments when those moments are necessary. But we can't have those moments if we don't have the cue pickup and the cue overlap and the pace and the tempo early on. Because if there's pauses between each line, then that taking that moment of silence or to slow down is not going to mean anything at all. One area that stands out to me when it comes to like pacing of a show that I think can really put a giant halt to a show is scene changes. Working with schools and hearing people talk about school productions they've seen throughout the years, a lot of times they're like, the scene changes took forever. So that's one area that I work on in my pacing and tempo of an overall show. Because you can't have the scene changes derail a whole show. They're important, they're needed. So we have rehearsals that are just dedicated to scene changes, especially if they're big ones, and need to make sure the show keeps going. I stress with that everything that the students do on stage, what they do off stage or behind the scenes is just as important, equally as important. So that tempo, that rhythm, that everything on stage, that has to happen backstage as well. You have to be listening. You have to be paying attention. You have to know your cues to keep the show moving at all times. Moving on to chapter 20, which I really appreciated, chapter 20 about the problem solving with actors. That's a chapter that I'll definitely keep easily at hand because problems pop up all the time and I may not know exactly how to explain what the problem is, but this chapter had so many good examples that it would be easy to kind of skim through. It would be like, okay, this is what our problem is. This is a solution I should try. I like the quote on, where'd it go? Well, it's kind of a long quote I'll kind of paraphrase it on page, where am I? 278. Essentially, it's as you work with actors to bring your vision to life on stage, you continually diagnose their performance problems and seek solution. The director has a mandate to take action. You use insight to perceive the symptoms, logic to identify the causes, and creativity to search for possible alternatives to solve the problem. We are, as directors, giant problem solvers. And the problems may not always be bad or negative. The problem may be how to take this good moment and make it better. But I did really super appreciate all of the examples in here. One that I liked for sure was the actions are blurred. I love that the detailed list on page 182 that they gave the examples: open the door, step in, walk, stop, look around, see character A, stop. Students especially need that kind of very detailed step by step. Otherwise, they're just going to burst through the door and start talking. So I like how they broke that down in that example that they give, and that's definitely something I'm going to try in the future. I do usually kind of say something, but it's not as detailed and as specific as this, and I really like how specific this is. So definitely taking that. And another area, some of them I feel like kind of bleed over into each other a little bit, but like the lack of emotion, the lack of clarity comes down to just the students' lack of understanding what the heck they're saying or what the heck they're talking about. So when those come up, taking those moments to either pull the student aside, or if it's a big ensemble moment, to work with the group together, like what is our motivation? How should our emotions be? How should we be feeling? This person said this. How does that make you feel? And we have to take those moments to sometimes go over that because the students may not know. Lastly, I liked the gestures are ineffective or distracting that I have in this last show that we just did, Treasure Island. One of the prominent characters, she was very good, but she was overacting, over gesturing everything she said. And I finally took the moment. I said, just let the words do the acting for you. Let's find a couple main things. I like when you do this, and I like when you do this, but everything else, just say the lines, because too much gesturing is not normal. And also, on the other hand, just standing there with your arms at your side talking is not normal. So then you have the students that you have to kind of coach into use your arms, use your hands. But that all comes from knowing your lines and knowing what your lines mean and what the motivation is behind everything as well. So yeah, that was week 6. The pacing, the rhythm, the tempo. Really enjoyed that chapter, and then the problem-solving chapter will definitely be something that I refer back to show, because these problems always arise. Thank you.